of the Void Rays from RipItUp here.
And it does not look like they're aware. I don't see an observer anywhere.
Oh my goodness. And all of those Void Rays go down, although a decent amount of them were actually killed by the combined fire of the turrets and the infantry that were at that base entrance. And the few that are remaining outside of this base are going to be taken down by the combined fire of this Viking Marine army here. And of course, one BC in the mix as well, getting a little bit of a diverse army, although it looks like Dekator is attacking the mineral line of this high yield expansion here.
Yeah, I would think the Terran player needs to start putting some pressure on his opponents here. He took out a huge amount of units there. I think he could probably do some damage if he pushed out.
Yeah, despite the fact that he did take out a large army there, the blue Protoss Dekator has so many warp gates. He was actually able to macro up rather a pretty sizable amount of stalkers in a very short period of time.
Yeah, that is true. It looks like he has maybe at least 10 warp gates over there, if not more.
Yeah, and there are a decent amount of warp gates for RipItUp here as well. He's only got 6. As opposed to the amount that Dekator has, which, as 13 mentioned, he thinks he has around 10. And looking, he's also got 3 Stargates here. So again, sticking with this heavy Void Ray, which I don't know if I agree with this strategy, again, because like you mentioned, they are not as strong against infantry, which there are a lot of infantry and a lot of Vikings.
Very weak against Vikings as well.
Absolutely, because the Viking in air mode, in fighter mode rather, is strictly anti-air, so they are very, very strong against any air units. However, they can also, if you have not seen anybody use it, they can transform into a mech mode where they go on the ground and they actually basically operate like a Goliath would. And it looks like Fearless moving out to take out this expansion from RipItUp. And it looks like RipItUp was going to try to defend, but deciding to back off.
Yeah, the only situations that I really build Void Rays for are to kill buildings and also to kill massive units such as battle cruisers, carriers, ultralists, things like that.
Yeah, absolutely. And despite the fact that we see 1 battle cruiser, there is not enough to justify as many Void Rays as RipItUp is building right now.
Yeah, I can see maybe building 1 or 2 to take out those cruisers, but not 8 or 9 like he has right now.
And it looks like we may see some blink from Dekator, although possibly, I guess he did not quite have sight of vision on that cliff there, because again, you can blink anywhere that you have sight within the screen. But I guess he did not have sight of that cliff. So at this point, it looks like Fearless, again, has a fully maxed out Terran army, which is going to be very difficult to deal with since neither of his enemies are maxed out at this point, and a couple more battlecruisers coming out as well. So it looks like we may be getting ready to see yet another large battle. And at this point, since Fearless has been able to stay macroed up to pretty much full capacity on his army, he is starting to get a decent stockpile of resources. So even if he loses his full army, he will have enough money to rebuild that in relatively short time.
Yeah, this is such a huge, diversified army. It's going to be very difficult to take that out.
And it looks like Dekator, seeing the huge the huge Terran army from Fearless, and he's going to back off. Although it looks like Fearless may be going to be he is going to come after the army of Dekator, and
lots of EMPs going on.
Oh yeah, EMPs doing a ton. You can see pretty much all the shields gone from these frontline units, so those are going to go down very quickly. And it looks like these Void Rays are focus firing down. You can see just how powerful they are against these battle cruisers, because the damage builds over time.
But all those infantry left are to take them out quickly.
Yeah, absolutely. While those are focusing on the battle cruisers, the infantry, of course, are left to just pick off those Void Rays, which, as you can see, they are starting to go down very quickly now that there is no ground army from either of those Protoss players, and of course Stimpack researched as well for Fearless.
Yeah, I noticed that the blue Protoss there had a huge amount of sentries, but I did not see any Guardian Shield or Force Field used by him. I don't know if maybe that EMP took out all of their energy.
Yeah, it looks like a huge lack of... actually, I'm sorry, we're seeing some Immortals come in here as well, which are pretty good counters for tanks, but I don't think that is going to be enough Immortals to do significant damage. Yeah, and these tanks are able to fire them down. And RipItUp now losing his natural expansion, which at this point had been mined out a decent amount, but there were still some serious minerals left there. So he has now lost both of his expansions. He's going to be in a pretty tough spot financially.
Yeah, the purple Terran clearly has the advantage here now.
Yeah, as he does have his the island base, it looks like, is mined out now, but he has taken the high yield resources, although it looks like those are about to get mined out right now. So despite the fact that the purple Terran Fearless does have a lot of bases at this point, he is mining them out rather efficiently and has been using the money pretty well. As we can see, he is already back up to 148 for his army out of 200, so he is macroing his army back up pretty quickly here. And it looks like we are going to see another small battle in the middle of the map here between Fearless and Dekar. And of course, Dekar's army, bigger than Fearless at that point, able to hold them off. Although I think that we may see enough units here between the Vikings, Marines, and battlecruiser that he's got up here. That is probably going to be enough to hold that off. And the help of the Planetary Fortress at the high yield base here, which is very, very strong against Zealots, especially if you have the SCVs that were from the mineral line there healing. And it looks like Dekar is going to have to back off here. In the meantime, they were able to hold off the attack that was at RipItUp's base. But still, once again, and Thor's now coming out. Wow. Fearless just using a very, very diverse unit mix at this point. As a Protoss player, 13, how do you deal with a Terran army that's this diverse?
Well, you have to have a diverse army yourself to take out, a diverse army, basically. There's not one single unit you can use to take out an army like that. I do like to see the Immortals in the mix there. That will take out those Thors and those tanks very quickly. But again, Dekar has those sentries, and I still haven't seen him use Guardian Shield or Force Field. There's really no use to build him if you're not going to use those abilities.
Yeah, really the power in the sentries lies in the ability to cast those two spells, which we have seen some games where players have just, like Void Words has absolutely just brilliantly abused the ability of the force field and pretty much going only sentries and zealots. I have seen him just do a huge amount of damage, and we have not seen Dekar here take advantage of either of those spells, as you had mentioned. And it looks like a small Protoss force moving out from RipItUp here.
Trying to squeeze out of there, not going to happen.
And pretty much every one of those units got taken out except for 3, which look like they have been injured quite significantly. And RipItUp trying to sneak some probes out there, but this Terran army is going to move in. Although counterattacking, Dekar does have a decent sized army of Immortals and Stalkers. A couple Zealots and Sentries in the mix there as well. And for some reason he's going after the high yield expansion. I don't know if this is going to be worth it, because at this point this base is nearly mined out. I think this money in this army would be better spent trying to take out the tech tree at Fearless's main base.
Yeah, I definitely agree with that.
It looks like he was able to kill the Planetary Fortress, so this base is not going to be mined any longer, but as you can see, not much left here. Only 72 minerals in that one and 51 in this one.
Looks like he lost out on 120. That's really going to screw him in the long run.
Well, he is losing this gas as well, but as you can see, he is putting up another base right now, and his ally Protoss is saying, love getting carried. So he's basically just been sitting there spectating, watching his ally win this game the whole time.
Yeah, I don't know if I would criticize the Protoss player too much, Protoss player named Protoss, because his ally really didn't help him too much in the beginning.
Yeah, in the early game, Fearless definitely went for a more macro build. He did not have a whole lot of units early on and basically double expanded while his ally was getting attacked. So although he wasn't able to provide a whole lot of support for his ally, he was able to get up a big enough army here and to get up a strong enough econ that he could make up for it. And it looks like